What up, everybody? It's your girl July from Kickback Couture. Today, I'm going to show you how to make this tracking template in Reason. We're going to work our way backwards from the master section, going through all of the sends I have set up to my metering, all the way down to my metronome because I don't like the one that comes with Reason, nitpicky stuff, all the way down to some of the plugins I use to mix my vocal, what are they called? What do you call them? My vocal chains. Let's get straight into it. Now in Reason, I want to go up to File, New from Template. I'm going to go to Empty and Effects. Going to click on this drop down menu for the mastering section. But you'll see inside of it that there are plugins and there's already settings here. We don't want any of those. So I'm just going to right click and reset this device. And then I'm going to select all of these by holding shift. Click on one of them, hold shift. Select the bottom one. Command delete will get rid of all of those. And we're going to start from scratch. Now, like I said, we're going to work backwards. So the first thing I have in my template is, whoa, I can't find it. Built-in devices. It's an effect. Built-in devices. M-class stereo imager. And this works as a mono button here. So let's go ahead and set that up in the programmer, which is right here. M stereo button 1. Let's have this on low width, and let's change this to button 1 as well. Gonna put this on high width, and what I want to happen is both of these knobs to be at mono when I press this button, and right now they're both at wide. So we're going to change these values to the opposite of what they currently are. Now with it on, it'll be mono. But we want to make it so that when we have it off, it's not wide. So in order to do that, we're going to watch and see what these tooltips tell us. So at wide, it's 63. So we're going to change this to 0. I don't want anything wider than it needs to be on my master, especially not that wide. That will ruin my mix. Awesome. Now, when it's on, it's mono. When it's off, it's going to be regular. Awesome. I like it like that. Next thing I'm going to do is add a limiter. My favorite limiter is the FabFilter Limiter Pro L2. Looks like this. Just going to leave that how it is. Gonna turn it off so that it's bypassed and collapse it. Now the next thing I would like to do is get into our sends. Now I'm in the mixer section of Reason, and my effect sends are here, on which I don't have any. So I'm going to right click in this area, create send effect, and it's going to let me choose out of all my effects what I would like to do. I want to start with the reverb. So my favorite reverb is Pro R by FabFilter. I also like the Renaissance reverb by Waves. So let's go ahead and add, let's go FabFilter Pro R as a start, and you might have your own favorite reverb that you like to use. Gonna use this one, and I'm gonna set this one to where's the hall reverb? Let's go choir hall. Actually, I like vocal hall, and I always end up changing the settings in my template to fit exactly what preset I like. I don't know where my preset is located, so I'm just gonna pick this one temporarily, and I would go change it later if I didn't already have my template. Alright, now let's go ahead and add a second send. So back up to our send effects, right click, create send effect, second reverb. I'm going to choose a plate reverb or room reverb. I want two different reverbs. I like two different reverbs because I usually like one for the lead sections of the song and then a second one for the hook chorus sections of the song. So one for the verses, one for the choruses or the hook. So let's select a preset here. Let's go with a medium plate, small plate, any plates here. I'll just go for the little room reverb, and as I said, I'll change that later. For the sake of time, I do always have two different reverbs in my template. So change this to hall as far as the name goes, and you see it updates over here as well, and we'll put room here. The next thing I add in my template is delay. Now keep in mind I work with a ton of hip-hop artists, so delay is, I think, important and pretty much should be important, or you know, it's a good option to be important in all genres, but hip-hop specifically, this is my favorite delay, H delay made by Waves. Alright, and I'm going to create 4 of these, so let's just go ahead and create those now, and I'll change the settings in a second. Create send effects. Another one. Now, if you have a good ear, you can hear the noise that's building up. If you can't, then I just pointed it out. Alright, now H delay is great. So in order to get rid of that noise, which you can get rid of, you can see the noise I'm talking about here on this meter. But if you don't hear it for some reason, it is this analog knob right here. We're going to turn that down on all of them, and then I'll go back and change the settings. And this will get rid of that noise, that hiss, that analog effect that H delay has as an option. Alright, now this one is going to be my half delay. This is going to be my quarter delay. Whoops. This is going to be my eighth delay. And this is going to be my ping pong delay. Alright, now let's go in and change these settings. This is our half delay, so gonna, whoops, wrong direction. Bring that to half delay, bring my feedback down to about 14, and of course I would change that depending on the song. This one as well, somewhere around there, and this is my quarter, so put that on the quarter. And this is my eighth delay, and the reason I'm setting up all of these delays now is because I never know what delay I might need in the recording process, and I like that to be a very fast process. I don't like to have to create my sound effects after the fact if I don't need to. So I usually have my reverbs and my delays set in place. Alright, this is the fourth delay, and it's ping pong, so I'm going to hit this ping pong delay. I like to keep my ping pong as a fourth, and I can come in and change it if I need to, just as a standard fourth. Alright, next I would like to add one more send effect, and that is going to be a doubler. Create send effect. Doubler. This one. Awesome. And this is Waves doubler, doubler 4. So we got that there, and everything is named and labeled in the mixer. If there was something I decided I wanted to add later, I have an extra send there. Alright, this is everything with the sends. Let's move on to metering. Now, metering is very important in the mixing phase. So what I like to do is create that meter, and I like to use waves, WLM. Whoa, so many plugins. WLM meter stereo, and you can also use plus. It doesn't really matter for the purposes of mixing a song. In my cases, I'm gonna go with plus for now. And all I'm worried about is the LUFS meter on it. Short term, long term, momentary is also important. True peak is also important. But I do have these available in metering form in my limiter. So this would just be, you know, something to watch for a specific sound or whatever the case may be. Just gives me flexibility. Alright, now we are working backwards. So from here, let's create our buses for the individual tracks we might have. I'm going to move this down a little bit so we can all see past my overlay. Let's do 5 buses. We're going to have our drum bus. Keep this short drum bus. Our instruments that aren't percussive. I like an acapella bus. Whoops. Delete ACA acapella bus. I'm going to send all of those to a mix bus. And I also like to have a hook bus. So I'm going to put that there. And then all of these will go route to. Can't do that just yet. No worries. Did I do that wrong? I don't understand. Alright, so here's the drop down. I would like to send this to them. I guess it would be a mix, right? The bus. Oh yeah. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to add my buses, and I'm going to do these as mix channels. So first bus is going to be the drum bus. Second bus is going to be the instrument bus, everything that isn't percussive. Next is my acapella bus, so all of my vocals. Next is my hook bus. I like to process the hook a bit different than the other vocals. And last is the mix, and I want all of these going into this mix channel. So I can control the volume of my mix overall by using this knob. Now we need the tracks that are going to feed this drum bus, or this track, and make it a bus in general. So let's go ahead and start adding audio tracks and move this over this way. Start with about that many. I'm gonna need a kick for sure, and you're gonna fill in these tracks to match whichever tracks, that names or instruments that you use or you mix most often in your process and the clients that you get. I'm mixing according to hip hop and pop. Snare 2, hi-hat 2. Open hat 2, no, open hat 1, and this one. Alright, I have pretty much everything that I would usually get in a hip hop or pop track. Sorting them a little bit now. And let's go ahead and add a few more I need one for percussion instruments. I may not be able to name right now because I never know what sounds are going to be in a beat or any stems that I get. The next thing I would like to do is add a parallel for the channels that I think I would like parallels on. Most often I add parallels to the kick and 808. So I'm going to just do that to the 808 in this case. Kick is less common. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, right click on this 808, create parallel channel, and in this parallel channel I'm going to add Decapitator by Soundtoys. Now a parallel channel allows me to mix in a signal with an original signal. So if I don't want to add distortion on my original 808 track, which might be overbearing or too much, I can add it on a parallel channel, which will take a copy of the 808 setting, and then I can mix that in with the original. Just going to bypass that, actually keep that on and bypass this. We can make these all one color. You can use whatever colors you want. Now I'm going to route these to the drum bus. All channels, drum. Definitely meant to do these as audio tracks, so let's change these. Alright, if you hit the drop down arrow on these, you can also see which bus they're being routed to. These are all being routed to the drums. So next we have instruments. So you never know what instruments that aren't percussive are going to be in a beat. So what I like to do is make about 5 to 7, and I just name them sound 1, just as placeholders all the way through 5, so that I can just drag the stem into where it needs to be and worry about changing the name later, because you have to listen to everything in order to mix it anyways and organize it into the session. This would be something I'll skip. Alright, got 5 sounds here. Let's select all of these sounds, and I'm going to route these to the instrument bus. Next, we have vocals. So let's figure out what vocals I need. Now with vocals, this is a tracking template. So the first thing I'm going to start with, I'm going to make it red, is a record track. This one will be used solely only for recording vocals. I won't have any effects on it so that there's no delay unless I need to drop auto-tune on it or something like that. If it's a rapper or a singer and they need auto-tune, I can drop that in there. But they usually like to record pretty dry. If they ask for something, I can easily come up to the send section and add a bit of reverb or whatever the case may be. Let's go back to... Alright, cool. So I got my record track. Now I need the rest of my vocal tracks. Now I work with hip-hop artists, R&B singers, pop artists, and whatnot. So I create my vocal tracks based on the audience I work with, and you can create yours to that. I'm going to fast forward and I'll show you what mine looks like. Alright, here are all of my vocal tracks. Now, what I've done is I've assumed that there are 2 artists on the track. More times than not, I get tracks and it's 1 artist. But just in case, I have it ready for one extra artist, and I can always duplicate these channels if I get a third. So what I want to do is take all of the vocals from the second artist, assuming that that is the lead 2, dub 2, ad-libs, and ins and outs 2, and I'm going to route that to a new output bus and call it Vox Bus 2. Now this is going to include anything I need to put on that second vocal in order to process it. So it might be a singular EQ, so I don't have to put it on each individual channel. It could be anything. After I make this Vox Bus 2, I'm going to create a parallel channel. I'm gonna call this Vox Bus. Let's call it Smash. Vox Bus 2. Smash Vox 2. Now I like to compress the snot out of my vocals in a parallel channel and then send it back in. It makes the vocals sound more fuller. Alright, after that we are working backwards, so I'm gonna select everything else and we're gonna route these to the first Vox bus. So I'm getting my words mixed up. New output bus. Smash Vox 1. Alright. Now in the Smash 1, I'm going to put my favorite compressor to do this effect with, and that is Soft Tube FET Compressor. You can use the rack extension or the VST version, it does not matter. These are the settings I like to put it on. Very low output. Ratio all the way up. I'm limiting the vocal input all the way up, and then I hit bypass so that it does not make any noise. And I'm also going to mute this. Collapse that. I'm not going to do it to the second vocal because I don't know if there's going to be a second vocal. I'll add it on a case-by-case basis. Alright, now we noticed that I routed these to the Vox bus, but I have I missed a bus. I missed the Vox Bus 2. So let's add Vox Bus 2. Or 1. Vox Bus 1. Bring that up there. And we're going to route all of these into the right bus. Alright, and then this one is the parallel of this, right? It is now. Cool. Now we notice that I routed my hook vocals into the Vox bus, but I have a bus over here for the hook also. So what we're going to do is send these to the hook bus. And then we're going to send the hook bus back into the Vox bus. So route to Vox Bus 1. Vox Bus 1 is going to go into the master section for right now. But we're going to change that, and we want this to go into the ACA bus, because that is where all of our vocals are going. Vox Bus 2, ACA, I'm going to leave the smash vocal. I'm actually going to send that to the mix. I'm going to bypass it going into the acapella bus. You can have it going to the acapella bus or the mix bus. That is my personal preference though. Alright, so all of this is set up. Let's change the colors. I don't really care for these colors, but I just want everything to make sense for everyone right now. So we got through the drum bus. We got through the instrument bus, I believe. Yes, we did the acapella, and we have our hooks routed, and we need that. That is correct. Alright, now what I put on my individual buses, this is basically the last step, would be on my acapella bus, I add 2 things. Actually, 1 thing, and that 1 thing is a EQ. This is where I boost all of my vocals up at 12.5K, sometimes a bit higher for more presence. And I'm gonna use the Mani M stereo EQ. Always go for stereo plugins with waves, or you'll create a mono signal, and if I had any panning, it would cancel that out. Now I'm just gonna move this down to 12.5K and boost it up at about 3 decibels to start, and I'll move it later on when I need to. I'm gonna hit bypass right now so that it's not on when I drop it in and I don't mix into the bus. I want to mix separately and then add that later. That is also personal preference. In my hook bus, I would like to add a C6 by Waves and an SSL bus compressor. I like the color and the sound and the presence that it adds to the hook. I like to differentiate the sound of the hook from the verses. So let's go ahead and find that C6. And let's go ahead and find that SSL bus compressor. Notice I have pictures of the things I use most often, or I just haven't been consistent with taking screenshots. That's also true. And I'm going to bypass this bus as well and collapse it. Now I'm a mixed bus. I'm going to keep that blank. This is just a meter, a fader that I can use to turn down my entire mix going into the master if I need to. Now that basically covers my entire template for tracking. The only thing I might do is come into the first lead or the Vox bus and add an EQ to roll off the low end. And if I do that, I would use a Pro Q. And sometimes you don't even need to touch the vocal if the recording is clean, but I do typically always add a high pass filter, and our current fab filter is Pro Q3. I have not upgraded yet. I need to get on that. I only realize when I'm going over my template. We're gonna do high cut. Whoops, low cut. Change my slope. I like a sharp slope, but you can do whatever you want. It's typically more common to do one that's not as sharp so that you can still savor some of the low end. But you know, this is a good cut right here. I'll start at about 68 and I'll move it up if I need to. That is my template, and we can cross-reference and double check. I think the only thing I'm missing is a mix channel for the beat or audio track. Let's start with the audio track instead of a mix channel. If I don't get stems and I only get a beat, then I need to be able to process that beat, whether that be adding a multiband compressor to tame the horrific bass sound on the mix that it came with, or whatever, you know. So that's there now, and let's go ahead and add that to the mix, route that to the mix as well. So I have all my meters, and we're good. I will create one more audio track for a reference file. Any reference track, if I want to match loudness, that is going to be put on this channel, which you'll find, you know, in the sequencer now at the top. And I'm going to add a secondary meter for the purpose of this reference track, and it is a rack extension. It's made by Flower Audio, and I'm looking for it. There it is. Just gonna put this into reference inputs, and then I need main inputs going in here. That would be our audio out, which is going up there. So let's disconnect this. Take this, and put this into here, and then we'll put that into here. Basically just daisy chaining my 2 meters. They're not going to make a difference because they're right next to each other. And that's it. That's my tracking template. So Be sure to comment down below. Let everyone else know what you might use in your template and your corresponding genre. It's all Couture, Kickback, and Cookup. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, Twitter. There'll be tons of content added to Instagram. I'll be posting on Twitter, and I just started a TikTok, so be sure to follow me there as well.